lion, hidden in the mouse, the Baroness of Madrid's revenge. What happens when the mouse you've cornered turns out to be a lion? Not just hungry, but the alpha of a whole pack. For Amelia Vance, life in the Salamanca district was a quiet, modest, and low-profile dream, until her husband's mistress, Sophia Hayes, decided it was time to publicly destroy her. The plan: to humiliate the pathetic, weeping wife at the most important social event on the Spanish calendar, the Prado Museum's grand charity gala in Madrid. But Sophia made a mistake, a catastrophic one. She assumed Amelia was alone. She didn't know that Amelia's simplicity was a choice. I had no idea of the truth hidden behind that adopted surname. I didn't know who Amelia's family was. Tonight, at the historic Prado Gala, the arrogance of the newly rich will clash head-on with an ancient and ruthless power. A surname whispered only in the financial circles of Zurich and Frankfurt is about to be shouted from the rooftops of the Spanish capital. Stay with us for a story of brutal betrayal, meticulous revenge, and a revelation so shocking it threatens to burn an empire to the ground. Chapter 1. The Scent of Lies. The lie didn't have a sound. It had a smell. It was Baccarat Rouge 540, an opulent and unmistakable perfume that clung with obscene persistence to the lapel of her husband's cashmere coat. It was the fragrance of saffron, jasmine, and burnt sugar, the olfactory signature of a woman who tried too hard to be noticed, to leave an indelible mark. Amelia Vance, on the other hand, preferred the quiet, papery scent of old books, or the light, clean smell of lemon verbena soap, a reminder of her European childhood. He stood in the massive white marble foyer of his penthouse on the Paseo de la Castellana, the expensive, heavy coat clutched in his hands. Jasper hadn't just arrived home late. He'd arrived changed. For months, the man she had married, the ambitious, charming, self-made founder of Vance Capital, had been fading away. He was a dapper ghost in their 10-room apartment, a polite stranger checking his phone under the table during dinner, his thumb gliding with a stealthy, obsessive speed that chilled her to the bone. "Jasper!" she called. Her voice was soft and was immediately swallowed up by the sterile, cavernous architecture of the apartment. He came out of his study, already loosening his Brioni silk tie. "Long day, Amelia." "It's been a really long day. The markets are brutal." He kissed her, a dry, papery touch on her cheek. He couldn't smell the perfume himself, but Amelia could. It was a specter, a third person in their marriage. "You smell different," she said, her voice barely a whisper. It was the boldest thing she'd said in months. "Jasper!" She froze. Her eyes, normally a warm hazel, went flat and cold. This was the Jasper his partner saw, the man who had built a $300 million firm from scratch. This wasn't their Jasper. "What?" "The perfume, Jasper. It's not mine." She saw the calculation in his eyes. He performed a quick, silent exercise in algebra. Deny. Feign ignorance. Attack? He chose a devastating mix of all three. He sighed, a sound of deep irritation, as if she were the cause of his tiredness. "Amelia. No, not tonight. I don't have the energy for your insecurities." Insecurities? The word was a slap in the face. She had supported him. She had edited his brochures. She had hosted his unbearable clients. And she had given up her own quiet ambitions in historical research to be the supportive wife her publicist recommended. And yes, insecurities. Finally, she took off her coat and tossed it onto a sterile Eames chair. "I met with a client. She's a perfume designer." "Is this it?" Are you accusing me? I'm not accusing anyone. I'm asking, who is she? Jasper laughed, a high-pitched, ugly sound. It doesn't matter who she is. It matters to me. He approached her, and Amelia, despite herself, took a step back. He'd never been physically violent, but his newfound coldness was a weapon in itself. You want to know? Fine. You really want to ruin our night? Okay. She ran a hand through her perfectly styled hair. It's Sophia Hayes. You know her. The neighborhood gallery owner of the literary scene. Amelia's stomach emptied. She remembered Sophia. Pure arrogance, bright red lips, and a laugh that sounded like shattering glass. He'd dismissed her as a social climber, a flashy accessory in the art world. Are you with her? Tutti, he said, referring to a simple, brutal fact. I am. And I'm in love with her, Amelia. I'm not in love with you anymore. The words simply hung in the cold, white hallway, sucking all the air out of the room. Amelia leaned against the wall. The smooth, cold marble was a shock to her system. She didn't cry, not yet. She was too numb. Since when? 6 months. 6 months. She thought about the dinners she had prepared, the nights she had waited awake, the supposed emergencies with clients. I want a divorce, he said, walking past her to the bar to pour himself a 25-year-old Macallan. He didn't even offer her one. Divorce? She repeated. I've been fair, more than fair. He took a thick, cream-colored overcoat out of his briefcase. My lawyer, Robert Harrison, drafted it. It's generous. You keep your car. You'll receive a lump sum, enough to get a nice apartment downtown. You'll be comfortable. She opened the envelope. His hands trembled. The generous sum was a fraction of what he was worth. It was a severance package. It was an insult. It was designed for the pathetic wife he thought she was. A woman with no family, no connections, and no resources of her own. A woman who had arrived in Madrid with 2 suitcases and a quiet passion for medieval manuscripts, and who had been saved by him. Is this what I'm worth to you? 12 years? Is this fair? He retorted. This is what my lawyer says. You're not getting a single penny from my company, Amelia. You signed the prenuptial agreement, remember? She did remember. She had signed them without reading them, believing in their love story. The gala is in 2 weeks, she whispered, the thought hitting her like a stray bullet. The Prado Charity Gala. It was the pinnacle of Madrid's social calendar. This year, Jasper was one of the main sponsors. It was meant to be his moment, his arrival. Yes, said Jasper, finishing his whiskey, and I'm going with Sophia. That's when the first tear fell. It was a tear of pure humiliation, without adulteration. You can't, he pleaded. Jasper, please. The shame. The shame. He laughed again. The shame is being married to someone who is satisfied. Sophia is not satisfied. She is hungry. She's alive. I'm building an empire, Amelia, and I need an empress, not a librarian. He clenched his fists. Robert will be in touch. I'll be staying at the Mandarin Oriental Ritz until you leave. You have 2 weeks, until the gala. Leave by then. It's cleaner that way. He walked towards the door. She picked up her coat, which still smelled of her new life, and left. Amelia Vance sank into the cold marble floor, the heavy over-cream beside her. She was alone, many meters above the city, in a glass cage she had mistaken for a home. And finally, she truly began to cry. She wept for the man she had loved, for the life they had built together, and for the devastating public execution he had just orchestrated. Chapter 2. The Empress of Wish.com. Sophia Hayes lived her life in hashtags, winning. CEO's life, a powerful couple. She was currently at the Botín restaurant, the clatter of dishes and lively conversations, the perfect soundtrack for her victory. She raised her champagne glass to her two friends, fellow gallery owners, more specialized in social currency than in real art. "To the Empress!" she toasted, her crimson lips curving into a triumphant smile. "So she really did it?" one asked, her eyes wide. "She left the beige ghost?" "Beige ghost!" Sophia cackled, a high-pitched, loud sound that made a nearby table turn around. "I love that!" And yes, she handed him the papers last night. She said she just broke down. "God, Sophia, you're amazing," said the other friend, with open admiration. She was always at those dinners, just sitting there, like a potted plant. A sad, withered potted plant, Sophia retorted. She was a burden to him, Sophia said, bowing. "Jasper Vance is a titan. He's a shark. And he was married to a sardine. Can you imagine it? Her. At the Prado Gala? What would she have worn? Clothes from El Corte Inglés?" Sophia, meanwhile, had just returned from her final fitting with her dressmaker. Her dress was a custom-made creation by an exclusive designer, a column of crimson liquid silk, completely backless, held up by what seemed to be sheer willpower and a string of diamonds. It was a dress designed to be photographed. It was a dress designed to announce her arrival. She had married Jasper Vance a year ago. She had accidentally bid against him at a charity auction. She had cornered him at an event in Soto Grande and had become an indispensable consultant for his firm's new art collection. She studied Amelia and saw nothing. No ambition, no passion, no renowned family. Amelia was a blank canvas, an orphan from somewhere in Europe who had gotten lucky. Sophia saw herself as a liberator, rescuing Jasper from a quiet, boring life of mediocrity. "And the attic," Tom said. "She's giving him 2 weeks to get his dusty old books and cardigans out. By the time we step onto that red carpet, the locks will have been changed. We'll fly to Ibiza the next morning. The penthouse will be fumigated and redecorated by the time we return. And the money? She's giving him a pittance." Sophia waved her hand dismissively. The terms were ironclad. Robert Harrison. He took care of it. Jasper's lawyer is a murderer. He'll be lucky if he can afford a studio in Usera, which is where he belongs. Frankly, his phone vibrated. It was Jasper. She put it on speakerphone. A performance piece for her friends. "My goddess." Jasper's voice, thick with infatuation, filled the air. "Hi, honey," she purred. "I'm just having brunch with the girls. We're toasting to your freedom." "How is she?" Jasper asked. His voice was slightly hesitant. Sophia rolled her eyes. "Who?" "Oh, her. I don't know, Jasper. Probably packing." "Don't soften up now. You did the right thing. It was unpleasant." "Of course it was unpleasant, baby," Sophia cooed, her voice a weaponized honey. "Divorce is ugly. But think about the gala. Think about us. That's the first day of our real lives. You, me, and that massive sponsorship plaque in the main hall. Van's Capital. It's going to be glorious." "You're right," he said. His voice strengthened. "You're always right. The board is delighted you're coming. I've already updated the seating chart. You'll be to my right." "Where do I belong?" Sophia said, taking a sip of champagne. "Now I have to go. I have an appointment with El Confidencial for a pre-gala report." The new faces of Madrid philanthropy. She hung up, a triumphant grin on her face. "El Confidencial," her friend squealed. "Well, El Confidencial online," Sophia admitted. "But it's a start. By the time I'm done, Queen Sophia herself will be asking me for an escort pass." She looked at her reflection in the restaurant's gilded mirror. She saw the future. She saw the penthouse, the private jet, the name, Sophia Vance. She saw it all, torn from a woman she considered nothing more than collateral damage, a beige ghost about to be exorcised forever. "I almost feel sorry for her," she said, pulling a freshly engraved Cartier case from her crocodile skin handbag. "To lose everything, and then have to watch me walk into her life on the biggest stage in the world? That must hurt." She touched up her red lipstick. "I really hope you're watching. I want you to see exactly what you lost." Pause for the reader. What do you think of Sophia's arrogance? Do you think fate will strike back? Leave a comment with your prediction of revenge. And don't forget to share this story in your WhatsApp groups. Chapter 3: The Error in Algebra. For 3 days, Amelia existed in a state of suspended animation. The attic, once her sanctuary, now felt like a mausoleum. The silence was deafening, broken only by the hum of the air conditioner and the distant sirens of the city that had rejected her. She packed. She had started in the library, her true home inside the glass case. She wrapped her 19th century copies of Goethe, her Rilke collections, her research notes on Carolingian scriptoria. These were her things. Everything else. The custom-made Italian furniture, the sterile white artwork Jasper had bought, the closets full of clothes he'd suggested she wear. It was just a disguise. Jasper had been right. She was a librarian at heart. She had tried to be the empress he wanted, but the crown had never fit her. On the 4th day, the numbness broke and anger took hold. It wasn't just betrayal. It was disrespect. It was the assumption that she was nothing without him, that he had created her, and that he could erase her just as easily. He had forgotten who she was before him, because she had allowed him to forget. When she met Jasper Vance at a college fundraiser 12 years ago, she was a 24-year-old graduate student trying to keep a low profile. He was a 30-year-old dynamo, all American ambition and optimism. He had loved her European tranquility. She had loved her normalcy. He came from a solid middle-class family in Toledo. He was building his own life. He wasn't like the world she had fled. She had fled a world of suffocating dynastic wealth, a world of expectations, of security details, of marriages that were mere mergings, and of a surname that opened every door but imprisoned her from within. She had wanted to be Amelia. Only Amelia. Now, only Amelia was being evicted from her home in Madrid by a man having a midlife crisis and a social climber. The irony was so bitter, it almost made her laugh. He walked to his desk. Hidden in the back of a locked drawer beneath his old university dissertation was a small, inconspicuous black moleskin notebook. It wasn't digital. It wasn't clever. It contained only 10 numbers written in her neat, file-quality handwriting. Her fingers trembled as she traced the page. Noah hadn't called any of these numbers in 3 years, not since her grandmother's last disappointed call. She skipped the first 6. His uncle, his aunt, his cousins. He was number 9. He was listed under a simple professional name. K. Hildebrandt took out his mobile phone, the one Jasper paid for, an insult he would soon correct, and dialed the long international code. It rang once, twice. A voice answered, as dry and precise as a legal document. "Already? Mr. Hildebrandt," Amelia said. Her voice broke. She cleared her throat. "Klaus, it's me. It's me. It's Amelia." There was a pause, not out of surprise, but out of assessment. Klaus Hildebrandt had been her family's head of security, and later, their head of operations, since before she was born. He was a man of absolute loyalty and zero sentimentality. "Fräulein Amelia," he said. The formality felt strange. 998 days have passed. Are you okay?" "I know." The simple question did what Jasper's cruelty couldn't. It broke her. A sob tore through her chest. "No, Klaus, I'm not okay. I'm very, very bad." She told him everything. The affair, the mistress, the divorce papers, the gala, the humiliation, the generous offer. Hildebrandt listened without interruption. The silence on the other end of the line wasn't empty. It was heavy, like a brewing storm. When it ended, his voice roared. He only said one thing. The Baroness was right. It was a weak investment. "Klaus, I made a terrible mistake. I thought I could be normal. I thought I could be weak." "You are a von Adler, Fräulein," he stated, as if reminding her of her blood type. "You are not allowed to be weak. You are only allowed to be discreet." This man has forced her to act. What does he require? Amelia glanced at the invitation to the Prado charity gala, still lying on the lobby table. It was addressed to Ms. Jasper Vance. A new feeling was taking root within her. It was cold and sharp, and it felt terrifyingly like home. "I require legal counsel," her voice said, hardening. "Not a team from Madrid, a team from Zurich. I want Hamburger to review these documents, and I want them to analyze Vance Capital. Deeply." "It's already done," Hildebrandt said. "I started the file when she emailed me her wedding photos 12 years ago. We've been monitoring Vance Capital's exposure as a matter of routine." Amelia blinked. Of course they had. "Second," she continued, straightening up, "I need you to make a reservation at the Ritz Madrid. One suite. Tonight. The presidential suite is available. I'll insure her for 3 weeks." "Good. Jasper is staying there. I'd like you moved to a lower-class room, or perhaps to a hotel in Vallecas. You decide. I'll take care of it." And finally, Amelia took a deep breath. "The gala. In 2 weeks. I went. I was uninvited. I'd like to be invited back, and I need a date." This time Hildebrandt almost chuckled. It was a dry, harsh sound. "A companion, Fräulein?" "No, you will not be accompanied. He will attend with a delegation. The von Adler Group is, after all, the main anonymous subscriber of the entire Flemish painting wing of the museum, a fact that I believe the president of the board, Mr. Suarez, is well aware of. I'll make the call. They'll be delighted." "Who will you send?" "Your Uncle Walter is in London. His cousin, Count Nikolai, is in Washington. They can be in Madrid that evening. They will be persuasive company." Amelia thought of her uncle, Baron Walter von Adler, the head of the family bank, a man who made central bankers tremble, and her cousin Nikolai, a roguish and handsome aristocrat who directed the family's most aggressive acquisitions and possessed all the moral flexibility of a Medici prince. "Yes," Amelia said, "that will do. One more thing, Fräulein, your clothing. I have nothing to wear." "You won't be wearing clothes, Amelia. You'll be wearing armor. There's a jet waiting at the private terminal in Barajas. Departure at 8 in the morning. Pack a small bag. You are flying to Zurich. The Baroness wants to see her, and the family jewelers need to take her measurements." She was about to hang herself. "Klaus?" "Yes, thank you." "Poor? I told you so you wouldn't have told me. It wasn't necessary, Fräulein. The entire VGG, the board, has been saying it for a decade. Welcome home. We'll see you tomorrow." The line went dead. Amelia walked over to her laptop. She opened the email from Jasper's lawyer, Robert Harrison. The generous agreement was waiting for her electronic signature. She moved the cursor and clicked Reply to All. She typed a sentence. "Dear Mr. Harrison, please direct all future correspondence to my senior counsel, Dr. Felix Baumann, in Hamburger, Zurich. I trust you are familiar with the firm." He pressed send. He felt his first real breath fill his lungs in 6 months. The mouse was out of the trap, and the lion was awake. Chapter 4. The Zurich armored vehicle, the unmarked matte gray Gulfstream 1900 registered to a shell company in Luxembourg, landed at Cloten's private terminal in Zurich under the morning mist. Amelia stepped off the plane not as Amelia Vance, the failed socialite, but as Amelia von Adler, the prodigal granddaughter. Klaus Hildebrandt was waiting for her on the tarmac, standing next to a Mercedes, that armored black 80s Tiento. He was exactly as she remembered him, tall, impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit, with a face that looked as if carved from alpine granite. She picked up her only suitcase. "Fräulein," she nodded. "The Baroness awaits at the estate." The journey was silent. They passed by the shimmering, placid surface of Lake Zurich, heading towards the estate. A word that failed to capture the reality. The von Adler complex was a 15th century castle on a private promontory, seamlessly integrated with a modern, high-security underground complex of glass and steel. It wasn't a home. It was a headquarters. Her grandmother, Baroness Ottilie von Adler, waited in the large library. She was an 80-year-old woman, enveloped in a simple, perfectly tailored cashmere dress, her white hair gathered in a severe bun. The only jewelry she wore was a ring, the von Adler signet ring, a gold eagle holding a key. "Amelia," said the Baroness, her voice like crisp parchment. She did not stand up. She simply gestured toward a chair in front of her. "You look thin and tired. This American has been a poor custodian of our blood, Grandma," Amelia said. Sitting down, she added, "I'm ashamed. I was a fool." "Yes, you were," Ottilie agreed, taking a sip of tea. "You ran away from your responsibilities to play house with a mere stockbroker. You traded a dynasty for an attic, a very poor exchange. I loved him, or so I thought." "Love," the Baroness sneered. "Love is a luxury for people who have nothing else. We have a responsibility. You forgot that. This lover, this Sophia, has done us a favor. She has reminded you who you are. She has brought you home." The following days weren't a pretty woman makeover. They were an arming. First, the lawyers. Dr. Baumann, a sharp man with piercing blue eyes, guided her through the Hamburger team's findings. "Her husband's firm, Vance Capital, is a house of cards," Fräulein said, tapping on a tablet. "It's leveraged to an astonishing degree. She built it on a risky acquisition, financed by a syndicate of 3 private equity groups, as Hildebrandt suspected. VAG is the main silent partner in all 3. Amelia absorbed this. "So we belong to him, essentially," smiled Dr. Baumann. "His entire net worth is tied to the valuation of his company. And the primary lender for his other extravagances here nodded toward a file detailing the lease for the Sophia Gallery in the Literary Quarter, and the new McLaren Jasper had just bought. "It's Credit Suisse. As you know, the Baroness is on your advisory board. This will be straightforward. Next, the wardrobe. This wasn't a shopping trip. It was a call to action. Fashion designers from Paris and Milan flew to Zurich. They didn't bring coat racks. They brought sketches. "Not the red one," the Baroness ordered, dismissing a fiery Valentino dress. "Red is for lovers and debutantes. You're neither." "Not black," she said to a stern Tom Ford. "You're not in mourning. You're in charge." They finally decided on a custom creation from a private Parisian atelier, almost a recluse, almost a Stéphane Roland. It was a masterpiece of midnight blue silk velvet, almost black in the shadows. It was architecturally austere, with a high, structured collar, long sleeves, and a sculpted white cape detail that draped from the shoulders. It wasn't a dress designed to be sexy. It was a dress designed to be remembered. Finally, the jewels. She thought you had nothing, the Baroness said, as a jeweler opened a vault. She thought you were a charity case. She opened a worn navy blue leather box. Inside, on faded satin, was a set of necklace, earrings, and bracelet. The Von Adler sapphires, Amelia whispered, were famous. Ceylon sapphires, the size of robin's eggs, surrounded by cascades of cut diamonds. They had been a gift from a Russian czar to a Von Adler ancestor. They had not been seen in public since 1953. They're heavy, Amelia said, as her grandmother fastened the cold, magnificent weight around her neck. They're meant to be heavy, the Baroness said, adjusting the center stone. They're the weight of 500 years. Let me remind you why you're fighting. Not for a man, girl, but for a name. Amelia looked at her reflection. The mouse was gone. The sad beige wife had vanished. In her place was a woman he barely recognized, cold, powerful, and radiating an authority that had nothing to do with Jasper Vance and his sordid world. Klaus Hildebrandt entered the room, a phone in his hand. Has the gala board been informed, Baroness? He said. The president, Mr. Suarez, sends his deepest apologies for the administrative error that led to Fraulein Amelia's disinvitation. He has reorganized the main stage. The Fraulein will be seated to his right as the guest of honor for the evening. And the old seat? Asked the Baroness. Mr. Vance and his guest have been moved to table 48, next to the kitchen service entrance. A small, cold smile touched the Baroness's lips. Acceptable. Hildebrandt turned to Amelia. Her uncle Walter and her cousin Nikolai will meet her at the Ritz. They are eager to offer her their support. Nikolai, in particular, seemed outraged by the capitulations. She called them creatively insulting. I'm ready, Amelia said. She was no longer Amelia Vance, the weeping wife. It was Amelia von Adler, and she was going out to party. Chapter 5. The Prado Gala. The night of the Prado Museum's grand charity gala was a symphony of flashes and performative air kisses. The Prado's steps were a river of haute couture, a chaotic avalanche of celebrities, tech billionaires, and the old matrons who ruled the city. Jasper Vance and Sophia Hayes arrived at 7:30 p.m., prime time. Sophia was electric. Her crimson dress was, as designed, a sight to behold. It was loud, low-cut, and left nothing to the imagination. She was winning. She posed with a practiced pout, one hand on Jasper's chest, the other on her hip. The photographers from Hola, Magazine, and El Confidencial devoured him. Jasper Vance, CEO of Vance Capital, and his stunning new muse, gallery owner Sophia Hayes, a reporter shouted. Muse, Sophia whispered excitedly to Jasper. I like that. Jasper, immaculate in a Tom Ford tuxedo, looked proud. He felt reborn. This was the life she deserved. She'd seen the email from Amelia's lawyer and dismissed it. Hamburger? Zurich? It was a pathetic bluff, a desperate attempt by his mouse-like wife to appear important. Her lawyer, Robert Harrison, had assured her that she had no legal grounds. She'd been slightly annoyed when the Ritz Madrid had suddenly downgraded her suite due to a plumbing emergency. But Sophia's excitement was infectious. They entered the grand hall, passed the reception line, and made their way to the majestic Goya room, where the gala was being held. The ancient room was bathed in a soft amber light, and the masterpieces on the walls seemed to come alive. Our table, Jasper said, pointing ahead. Table 4, but a coordinator with a headset, looking frantic, intercepted them. Mr. Vance. Oh, thank God. There's been a slight seating adjustment, a last-minute change in our donor hierarchy. We had to relocate him. It's at table 48. 48? Jasper frowned. That's impossible. My firm is a silver sponsor. Yes, well, our platinum and diamond donors, you know. Table 48. It's right around here. This way. It was past the main floor, past the smaller donors, and in a far corner, practically vibrating from the noise of the kitchen doors, opening and closing. This is an insult, Sophia hissed, her face turning mottled with anger. Jasper, fix it! I'm going to get the president! Jasper stammered, his confidence evaporating. But before he could, a sudden, palpable silence fell over the entrance. The cacophony of the press line outside, which had been dying away, suddenly erupted with a frantic new energy. The music inside seemed too quiet. What is it? Demanded Sophia, craning her neck. Has Queen Letizia arrived? It wasn't the Queen. A convoy of black Mercedes S180s with diplomatic license plates had pulled up. They weren't the ostentatious Rolls-Royces or Bentleys of the nouveau riche tech crowd. These were serious cars. Cars for heads of state. The area around the gala cleared, and several new, stern-looking men formed an impenetrable wedge. And then she came out. It was Amelia. But this wasn't Amelia. This woman was a queen. Her midnight blue velvet dress absorbed the flashes, making her look like a figure in a Sargent painting. Her hair was gathered in a severe and regal chignon, and around her neck, even from 15 meters away, the jewels were dazzling. The Von Adler sapphires were flanked by two men. One was older, about 60, with a stern and powerful face that screamed old money. This was Walter Von Adler. The other was younger, incredibly handsome, in a tailored tuxedo, with a bored, aristocratic expression. This was Count Nikolai von Adler. Klaus Hildebrandt, a ghost in a perfect suit, followed closely behind. The president of the gala, Arturo Suarez, a man who commanded meetings from the Teatro Real to the BBVA, rushed to greet them. He didn't walk. He ran. "Var von Adler!" Suarez exclaimed effusively, practically bowing. "What an unimaginable honor. We weren't expecting you. We are so grateful." "Arthur," said Walter, his German accent thick and precise. "A pleasure. You know, of course, my cousin, Count Nikolai, and you remember my niece." Suarez turned to Amelia and took her hand, blowing a kiss above it. "Amelia, my dear, Amelia, you look stunning. Absolutely regal. Please, your table is ready. The guest of honor's table. Right at the front." Jasper and Sophia were frozen near table 48. Sophia's brain was short-circuiting. Who? Who are they? What are they wearing? She hired those people, but Jasper was white as a sheet. He was a man of finance. He didn't just know the Von Adler name. He was a legend. A phantom. Vogge, the Von Adler Group. They weren't just rich. They were the bank. They didn't buy companies. They bought countries. And Amelia, his wife Amelia, was one of them. "Jasper," Sophia whispered, tugging at his arm. He felt slimy. "Jasper, what's wrong? Why are you trembling?" "She looks ridiculous." "Von Adler," Jasper breathed, the name like ash in his mouth. Her name. She's Amelia Von Adler. "So what?" Sophia snapped. "It's some dusty old German name. Who cares?" "Sophia," Jasper said, his voice a terrified whisper. They own my sponsors." "Hamburger." It's his personal law firm. "Oh God! Oh my God!" He was looking at Amelia, but he was looking at a firing squad. Amelia slipped past them, She didn't look at them. She didn't even glance in their direction. It was a planet, and they were invisible, trembling moons in its orbit. It passed table 48, leaving behind the scent of a very faint, very old, and very expensive perfume. Not lemon verbena, but something dark and complex, like sandalwood and antique roses. Sophia watched the woman she had mocked, the phantom beige, being personally escorted to the main stage by the most powerful men in Madrid, dripping jewels that could buy her entire gallery, her entire life, 100 times over. "No," Sophia whispered. Her bravado finally crumbled. "No, that's not possible." Jasper simply collapsed against the wall. The rhythmic bang, bang, bang of the kitchen door, marking the death of his empire. Chapter 6. The Public Trial. Dinner's was a blur for Jasper and Sophia. From table 48, they had a perfect view of the stainless steel kitchen door and the back of a large floral arrangement. They were outcasts. Nobody spoke to them. The few people who recognized Jasper offered a dry, confused nod before hurrying away. The rumor was spreading. Jasper Vance had catastrophically offended the Von Adlers. Sophia, meanwhile, was on her 5th glass of champagne, her anger and confusion coalescing into a toxic and volatile mixture. "It's a trick," she kept muttering, furiously scrolling through her phone. "It's a bluff, Von Adler. There's nothing. There's nothing on Instagram, nothing on... Hola. They're nobody." "Sophia, shut up!" Jasper hissed, his face pale and glistening with sweat. "They're not on Instagram because they own the companies that fund Instagram. They're nobodies. It's all of them." Her phone was vibrating violently on the table. It was Robert Harrison, her lawyer. He ignored him. He was his main investor. He ignored him. It was his bank. He ignored it. "Hello." Across the room, Emilia was the picture of grace. She sat between the mayor of Madrid and Arturo Suarez. She spoke little, but when she did, people bowed. She was captivating. She didn't laugh loudly like Sophia. She smiled, a small, knowing smile that made industry titans feel like they were being knighted. After the main course, Emilia excused herself. She wanted a moment. She walked to the center of Goya's living room, the magnificent space shimmering behind her. She needed a moment of calm air before the final act. Sophia grabbed his arm. "Let go of me!" She tore at her arm, her crimson dress taut. "I'm not going to let this liar ruin our night. She's faking it. I'm going to expose her." Fueled by champagne and a bottomless well of narcissistic rage, Sophia headed to the main floor. The click of her heels on the marble was sharp, drawing a few glances. Emilia heard her coming. She turned around, her face impassive. "Well, well, Emilia," Sophia mocked, stopping a few meters away. "I'm surprised you showed your face. This is a disguise. It's a lovely dress. Did you rent it? And the jewelry? God, the fakes are getting better and better." Emilia remained perfectly still. She simply looked at Sophia, her gaze calm, almost compassionate. "Sophia, you look very red." The calm with offspring was more infuriating than any insult. "Do you think this is funny?" Sophia hissed, approaching. "Do you think you can hire a couple of old actors, rent some jewelry, and scare Jasper? He feels so sorry for you. He was worried you'd do something pathetic, and he was right. Here you are, crashing a party you were kicked out of." "I wasn't kicked out," Emilia said, her voice low. "My invitation was just updated." "Liar!" Sophia was shouting now. People were turning around. "Look at yourself. You're probably about to cry, aren't you? Go ahead. Cry. That's what you're good for. You're pathetic. You lost, Amelia. You're nobody. You have nothing. You have no home. You have no husband. And you have no power. She was shouting the last part. The music had faded away. The entire gala was watching. Jasper was half running, half stumbling toward them. Sophia, stop! For God's sake, stop! Just as Sophia gathered her breath to launch into another tirade, Amelia finally spoke, her voice clear and cold, cutting through the silence. Jasper, she said. Jasper froze. This, Amelia continued, her eyes fixed on his, is the woman you left me for. This person, noisy, artless, and profoundly stupid. Is this your empress? Don't you dare speak to me like that, Sophia shrieked. Oh, I'm not talking to you, Amelia said, dismissing her with a look. I'm talking to him. This is none of your business, said a deep, accented voice. Walter and Nikolai von Adler had materialized behind Amelia, like two wolves guarding their territory. Sophia, blinded by her own fury, confronted them. And who the hell are you? Your fake uncles. Get lost, grandparents. Nikolai, his cousin, smiled. It was a terrifyingly charming smile, completely cold. My name is Count Nikolai von Adler. This is my uncle, Baron Walter von Adler. And this one, he pointed to Amelia, is my cousin, Amelia, Baroness von Adler. Sophia's face went blank. Baroness? You're lying. Walter von Adler completely ignored Sophia and fixed his gaze on Jasper, who looked like he was about to vomit. Mr. Vance, Walter said. Vance Capital, a promising little company. My family's trust, the VAEG, has a controlling interest in its three main backers. A fact I would have known if I had read the fine print. Jasper was visibly trembling. Sir, man, I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know. That was the point, Amelia said gently, finally looking at Sophia. I wanted a simple life. She wanted a husband, not a business partner. Besides, Walter continued, her main lender, Credit Suisse, is, let's say, an old family friend. I took the liberty of making a call this afternoon. Their credit lines are frozen, effective at 9 a.m. in Zurich time. No, Jasper whispered. That's my whole operation. They can't. It's illegal. Nikolai laughed heartily. Illegal? My dear friend, it's finance. My uncle only cashed his promissory notes. You're, what's the American term? Oversized. You're bankrupt. She just doesn't know yet. Sophie's world was crumbling. Jasper, she cried. Do something. Tell them you love me. Jasper couldn't speak. He was staring at Amelia, seeing not his mousewife, but the heiress to a fortune who could buy and sell his entire world before breakfast. Amelia finally approached Sophia, who for the first time seemed small. You made fun of me for crying, Amelia said, her voice still calm. But everyone in the room heard her. You were right. I was crying. I was crying because I was grieving for a man I thought I loved. I was crying because I thought I had failed. Being small, being normal. I was inches from Sophia's face. But you're not worth my tears. You're just an accessory. And you, she turned her icy gaze to Jasper. You're just a bad investment. My family doesn't like bad investments. She looked at Jasper's trembling form and Sophia's stunned and horrified face. You have 48 hours to vacate my cousin's penthouse, Nikolai added, smiling, which, by the way, she bought with her own trust. You've been, what's the term? Oh, yes, a kept man." Amelia von Adler turned her back on them both. She didn't look back. "Walter." "Nikolai," she said, her voice returning to a regal calm. "I think the flicks are waiting for us, on his table. I love his new collection." As they walked away, Sophia let out a sound, half a sob, half a cry of pure animal despair. She had aimed for the beige ghost, and instead had shot at the sun. And now, she and Jasper were left, burned to ashes in the center of Goya's room. Totally, publicly, and devastatingly ruined. Epilogue. Accounts extinguished. The aftermath wasn't a story. It was an autopsy. Jasper Vance didn't go home. He couldn't. His keys to the penthouse had been deactivated before he'd finished his watered-down whiskey at table 48. He spent the night in a $400 a night room at a sterile hotel in the area. Still wearing his Queen Tom Ford suit, he stared at the ceiling as the distant wail of sirens provided the soundtrack to his downfall. She woke up to her phone vibrating on the nightstand so violently it sounded like a power drill. It wasn't a call, but a cascade, a tidal wave of terror. Her lawyer, Robert Harrison, was the first to call. "Jasper, I'm resigning as a lawyer, effective immediately." "What did you do?" "I just received an investigation letter from Hamburger and the SEC. Do not contact this office again." The line was cut off. Then, the CEO of the private equity group that had financed their first acquisition, a man Jasper used to play golf with. "You're finished, Vance. The Von Adlers just called in their notes. We're all seizing your shares. The board has been called. You're out. You are personally responsible for the outstanding notes. You lied in your statement. You idiot." The last call was from his bank manager at JP Morgan Private. The man, usually so smooth-talking, sounded as if he were about to cry. "Mr. Vance, Jasper, we've received a warning. The collateral in their portfolio has been, well, it's been acquired by the Von Adler Group. Their credit lines are frozen. All of them. The Centurion card. All of them. I'm so sorry. Numb." Jasper went down to the hotel lobby. His tuxedo was wrinkled. His face was a ghostly gray. He tried to buy a bottle of water and a 5-day supply. The cashier swiped his Amex Centurion. It beeped. "Declined, sir." She tried her Chase Sapphire. Declined. She tried her corporate card. Rejected. She stared at the machine. This was the moment. Jasper Vance, founder of Vance Capital, couldn't afford a €4 bottle of water. He turned and left, leaving his cards on the counter. When he finally reached the garage where he'd parked his McLaren, the one he'd bought to impress Sophia, it was gone. In its place was an oil slick and 2 men in reflective vests hooking up a crane. "Vance?" one asked, without looking up from his clipboard. "Embargo. The order came in at 4 in the morning." "Sign here." Jasper stood on the sidewalk in a dirty tuxedo as his $300,000 worth of life money slipped away. The APA, Sophia's reckoning, was in its most public way. She woke up in her apartment in the literary quarter, her head throbbing, convinced it was a nightmare. Then she checked her phone. She didn't look for the article in El Confidencial. She didn't need it. Her Instagram was the epicenter of a nuclear explosion. She had gained 50,000 new followers, and every single one of them was there to mock her. The headline in El Mundo was brutal. "Gala Catastrophe. Mistress Sophia Hayes mocks mysterious heiress, who turns out to be a baroness." But it was the meme that really killed her. They stood side by side. On the left, Serena and Regia in their midnight blue velvet, the Von Adler sapphires gleaming. On the right, Sophia's face contorted in a drunken scream, her lipstick crimson. The title, "When You Order a Power Partner," on Wish.com, was everywhere. Her booty friends hadn't just unfollowed her, they'd blocked her. Her gallery website was down. She put on sunglasses and a coat and hurried to her space, only to find a heavy-duty chain and a bright orange eviction notice taped to the glass door. The reason? Non-payment of rent. Jasper's now frozen line of credit had been guaranteeing her rent. She was a ghost. She was what she had called Amelia, a beige ghost, only painted a striking and desperate red. 3 months later, a former client, a wealthy woman from the Chambery district, whom Sophia had once looked down upon, was walking through the main floor of El Corte Inglés. She stopped at the fragrance counter, needing a refill. "Can I help you?" a saleswoman asked, her voice lifeless, her smile a painted-on grimace. She wore the standard black uniform and a cheap plastic tag that said, "Wax." The customer stared. "Sophia? My God, are you—" Sophia Hayes? The muse? The empress? She held her gaze. The crimson lipstick had vanished, replaced by a regulation nude shade, approved by the brand. "Yes," she whispered, her throat tight. "Is it the eau de parfum or the extrait?" Baccarat Rouge 540 is special. Conclusion and call to action. Amelia didn't stay in Madrid. She hadn't returned to reclaim her old life. She had returned to exorcise it. She flew back to Zurich. She sat with her grandmother, Baroness Ottilie, in the large library, the same room where she had been admonished weeks before. "The bank board meets on Tuesday," said the Baroness, her voice clear. "Your Uncle Walter has already nominated you for a seat. It's time. You'll oversee our acquisitions in North America." Amelia looked at the old woman, the matriarch who had commanded armies of the capital for 50 years. "No, grandmother," Amelia said, her voice soft but firm. Ottilie's eyebrow arched. No, I don't want the bank. I don't want acquisitions. That's Walter's world. It's your world. It's not mine." "And what is your world, child? More dusty books?" "Yes," Amelia said, a small smile playing on her lips. "Dusty books. The foundation. You've let the Von Adler Philanthropic Foundation lie dormant for far too long. It's just a tax haven. I want to turn it into a force to be reckoned with. I want to fund the arts, restoration, and libraries. I want to build things that last, not things that can be frozen with a phone call." The Baroness was silent for a full minute. He looked at the cold fireplace. Finally, he nodded, a look of deep, newfound respect in his ancient eyes. "You fled from us to find peace," Ottilie said. "Now you've returned, and you will command peace. A very worthy choice, wiser than your uncle's." A year later, Amelia Vance was a forgotten name, but Baroness von Adler was spoken of with reverence in the corridors of Florence. She wasn't living in a glass tower. She was in a 15th century scriptorium overlooking the Ponte Vecchio, personally overseeing the Uffizi Gallery's new manuscript restoration initiative. She wore a simple white linen dress, her hair pulled back, her hands stained with archival pigment. She was happier than she had ever been. Klaus Hildebrandt, who had refused to leave her side, entered the sunlit room. He seemed more composed. He was even carrying a small tray with 2 espressos. "Fräulein," he said, leaving her. A letter arrived. It was sent from Zurich, from Toledo. "It has been tested for contaminants. It's his." Tivite handed him a crumpled, multi-page airmail envelope. The return address was San Judas Rehabilitation Center, Toledo. She opened it. It was 10 pages of Jasper's desperate, looping handwriting. He was in rehab. He was a broken man. He had been a fool, bewitched by Sophia. He had always loved Emilia. Only Emilia. I just needed a little help. A loan. Just 50,000 euros for a fresh start, for the sake of what they once had. Emilia read each word slowly, as if it were a historical document. She felt a distant pity, the same pity she felt for the foolish and greedy popes described in the manuscripts she saved. A specimen from a forgotten time. She folded the letter and returned it to Klaus. "Klaus, please have Dr. Baumann's office in Zurich send a reply." Hildebrand raised a silver eyebrow. "A manly reply?" "Yes," Emilia said. "A formal, standard cease and desist letter, and it includes a small donation to the facility, in your name, anonymous. For 100 euros, let that be your final severance payment." Klaus almost smiled. "As you wish." And the letter. Emilia returned to her work, a 15th century text about the madness of greedy kings. The afternoon sun illuminated the gold leaf on the page. "File it," she said, picking up her restoration brush. "Under what title has it been headed?" Emilia looked up, the Florentine light catching the simple sapphire earrings on her ears. "File it away under extinct beads. Call to action." And that is how the beige ghost claimed its surname and its power. This masterclass is a powerful reminder that you never truly know the power of the person sitting across from you. The quietest person in the room is often the most dangerous. What Sophia and Jasper saw as weakness was Emilia's choice. A choice to be humble, to be simple. But when they forced her to act, they didn't just lose a fight. They lost the entire war. If you loved this story of shocking twists and righteous revenge, please like it so we know to create more content like this. Share this video or article with someone who needs a reminder of their own hidden power. And most importantly, subscribe and turn on all notifications. You won't want to miss the next story we have in store. You never know who's up next, life-changing point. Thank you for listening.